Hi, so in this video, I'm going to start off by talking about how I like to approach figuring out the action of a new muscle. So personally, I like to find that muscle in my own body and explore the different actions that it can perform. So for example, we learned about the flexor digitorum profundus this week. And I learned from the lab that this muscle is found in the anterior aspect of the forearm. And it's a thick, flattened cylinder on the forearm. So to get an idea, I use the picture found in the lab to be able to compare it to my own body, just to be able to locate it. And this helped me to infer that the actions of this muscle would be the flexion of the fingers and flexion of the wrist, which would be this way. So it's decreasing the angle, and then flexion of the fingers would be like that. So next, what I want to talk about is the rotator cuff and the four muscles that make it up. So the purpose of what they do is they all work together to hold the humerus in place so it doesn't pop out of its socket. So these four muscles are located in this part of the body, and three of the muscles are in the posterior aspect, and the subscapularis is found in the anterior aspect. So the first muscle that I want to talk about is the supraspinatus. So the supraspinatus is a small cylindrical muscle that sits in a depression, and its medial attachment point is the supraspinous fossa of the scapula, and its lateral attachment point is the greater tubercle of the humerus. The next muscle of the rotator cuff is a triangular muscle called the infraspinatus that also sits in a depression, and its medial attachment point is the infraspinous fossa of the scapula, and its lateral attachment point is the greater tubercle of the humerus. And then next we have the teres minor muscle, which is a flattened, small, triangular muscle. And its medial attachment point is the lateral border of the scapula, and its lateral attachment point is the greater tubercle of the humerus. And our last muscle is the subscapularis, which is actually the strongest and most used muscle out of the four of the rotator cuff. And this is a flat triangular muscle that has a medial attachment point of the subscapular fossa, and lateral attachment point is the lesser tubercle of the humerus. And for the striations for each of the rotator cuff muscles, starting off the supraspinatus is the striations are running in a horizontal direction. For the infraspinatus and the teres minor, they are both running in a diagonal direction, and the subscapularis is also running in a diagonal direction. I determined the striations of each of the muscles through a picture on one of the websites I used, and also just through the lab and looking at pictures through that. So to help me better understand what each of the muscles really do and what their actions are, I decided to make a table and just included their attachment points and the action that each one of them perform. And that really helps me to be able to perform that in my own body and really understand what action each one does. So to start off with the supraspinatus, which I talked about their two attachment points, but the primary action that this muscle performs is abduction of the arm. So for the supraspinatus, and figuring out what its action was on my body, figured out that supraspinatus is located right here, and its primary function or action to perform is abduction of the arm. So what it would look like would be like this. And so basically, if you injured that, you wouldn't have the ability to perform the action. Next muscle we talk about is the infraspinatus muscle, and here it's two attachment points, and the main action of this muscle is external or lateral rotation of the arm. So as I said, for the infraspinatus, the primary action is external rotation of the arm. So that would look like this. It'd be moving away from the midline. Third muscle I have here is the teres minor, two attachment points, and this muscle also is a primary action in external rotation of the arm. So again, for just like the infraspinatus, the teres minor, its primary action is lateral rotation or external rotation, so it'll be moving away from the midline. And our last muscle is the subscapularis, which is the most used muscle out of all four, and it is also the strongest, and its main action is medial rotation of the arm. So for the subscapularis, its primary action is medial rotation of the arm. So it would be the opposite of lateral rotation, so it would be moving towards the midline. So it's right here, moving towards the midline.